It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio today. Al Cornell with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue is in studio with us today. You might be familiar with Al. He's been in here several times. Good to have you.
Yep, nice to be here.
Good to see you. We brought you in because, you know, it's that time of year. We have you usually in the spring or early summer, and then always in the fall and just before winter, because people are going out hiking and they're not taking the right stuff with them. And then you get called and you go out and you save them, rescue them. So we've had a few of those recently, and that's what kind of spurred me into having you come back today to just kind of talk about it.
Okay, you heard about them then?
We did hear about them, yeah. We had a couple of stories on that, and we were just talking before the show that the two of them just happened recently, just a few weeks back, and just people unprepared. And I think most of them tend to be tourists visiting the area and don't really realize that, but we have locals that do it too, where we have searches for locals as well.
Yes, but the last three, the most recent, were people visiting. A couple from California, a couple from Denmark, and a couple of young kids from Phoenix. And all of them, well, I'll tell you, one was this Bear Mountain, which is a pretty good...
just north of Sedona.
Yeah, and it's not the best place to be in the middle of the night.
Right.
And it's high. And Cathedral Rock, those two searches occurred at exactly the same time. So when we were called out, we split our forces, and we sent 6 of searchers to Bear Mountain, and 4 of us went to Cathedral. The Cathedral search was a couple from Denmark. They had just arrived. They hadn't talked to anyone. They went to Cathedral Rock. And they did not go up to the Cathedral Rock. They hiked from the parking lot up to the Templeton Trail. Then they were running around the Templeton Trail down to the creek, followed the creek, and they hit the Baldwin Trail. And then she thought that if she took that trail and followed trails on that side of Cathedral, she'd eventually come back to the car. There's not a loop. You have a huge ridge, a very large ridge that comes off of Cathedral toward the village of Oak Creek, and you have to climb up over that ridge, and there is no loop back to your car. So, and he didn't want to do that, and she pushed it. That's sort of not the norm. Normally it's the man that pushes it, and that's the wife that says, you know, it's getting a little late, we need to head back. And it's the husband that says, no, we can go a little bit further. We got more time, and they get trapped in the dark. In this case, it was her. And but when they got up on that ridge and realized they didn't know where they were, had no idea. They hadn't planned to climb, and they had to climb. They followed the trail that took them, and what we call an unofficial or an illegal trail.
Okay, so somebody had gone in there and blazed their own trail.
It was
these people wound up finding
they hiked a trail that had been blazed by other people illegally, and followed that on up, and we even put signs at those junctions where those trails start to get people not to do that. And when we rescued this couple, they were in the exact same spot of 3 previous rescues this past year. Exactly, within 100 feet. So people are following these illegal trails thinking they go somewhere, and they get up on top there, and then they run out of ideas and trail and everything else. In their case, they were dressed in very light. She had a very light top on and flip-flops, and he had sandals on and shorts and a T-shirt. And when we got to them, she had cactus spines in her feet. She'd been pulling some of them out, but couldn't get them all out. We had to dress both of them. We put 2 layers of clothing on both of them before they could walk out. Both were afraid of heights, so we had to hold their hands leading them back out. We walked them over to the front of Cathedral Rock and then down, because it was the most efficient way out, and it was safe. We took them out safely, but they were not comfortable with the heights, and they were. What's interesting is how thankful they are when you arrive.
I bet.
And they realize that, they're not going to freeze to death, because they were really cold. Now
these two showed up. They pulled into town, didn't stop at the hotel, check everything. They just went pretty much went right to the trail.
Well, they had previously had rented a place, a short-term rental. Arrived, went to the short-term rental, threw their stuff in there, and this was their first day out.
And they hadn't talked to anybody,
no,
right?
No, and I told them afterwards, go to the Forest Service office. There's one right south of the village, and they'll give you lots of good information, and they'll give you trail maps and stay on the trails, you know. And she said, "Oh, what's what we wanted to do? We just thought that this trail went all the way around." Well,
do we know what time they showed up? What time they set out on their hike?
It was late in the afternoon.
3, 4 o'clock?
Yeah, probably about that.
So it's still pretty nice out. So you would wear flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt.
Oh yeah, weather-wise it was very nice. But the temperatures around here will drop 20 to 30 degrees at night. And remember, we talked before about hypothermia. Hypothermia deaths, the majority of them occur between 40 and 50 degrees.
Okay.
And that's what we call the death of the unprepared. They're
so
not
it doesn't
wearing
have, to
the right
be
clothing.
doesn't have to be 32 degrees outside. No.
Those, when it's that cold, those aren't the people that die. They're already out there with jackets on and stuff. So they're already prepared because it's cold when they went out in the first place. It's the people that go out on a 75-degree day and all of a sudden it's a 45-degree night. And especially if they're not nutritionally endowed, I'll say, you know, lean like you, you're going to have a tough time in the cold out there.
Wood goes right through me.
Yes, you betcha. But yeah, we got them off fine. And the Bear Mountain search, similar thing. They had gone up very late. I think they started their hike at 2:30 in the afternoon. On Bear Mountain, the distance is less than 3 miles, maybe 2.7 miles, 2.75. But it's about an 1,800 or 2,000 foot climb. And so you lose a lot of time climbing.
Sure.
And they'd gone up and just didn't come back, and it got dark on them. And then they started to come back, lost the trail, tried to take what they thought was a drainage that would take them down to the bottom, and it was a drainage that was going to take them to a drop-off. Then they called 911, and then the team went in and eventually found them and walked them out. And so both of those cases were hiking too late, getting caught in the dark, and insufficient stuff with them. The couple from Denmark did have a small flashlight, and that helped us. And of course, they all have cell phones.
Sure.
I'm not sure the Bear Mountain people if they had flashlights or not, but either way, they could not get their way out. And so it would have been a bad night for both of them.
When they called 911, did they know where they were, and were they able to give you guys good directions as to how to find them?
They don't know where they are. However, when they call 911, the sheriff's operation here in Yavapai have the ability, have the machinery, the electronics to track the call by way of satellite also. And they can give us the coordinates. They give us the coordinates in latitude and longitude by degrees and tenths of a degree. And then Mike Vitek, for example, will take that number and he'll convert it to another grid system we call UTM, Universe Transverse Mercator, which is really easy for us to use in the field. And he'll print a map exactly with a dot on it, says this is where they are. And he had done that, and he had raced over to us and handed the map to one of our people. Bob Schumann had the map when he arrived at the cathedral, and then he went over and ran the other search. He ran the Bear Mountain search as the incident commander and had a map for that one. So we knew exactly where they were. It's just a matter of working your way up to them in the dark, knowing what's the best way to get there. And what's really advantageous for our group is our people are made up of hikers. And so they know those trails. They know which way and more or less how they got up there. And then if they're off trail, then they pick the best way to get to them and lead them out safely.
Gotcha.
And if it wasn't for the local knowledge of our search and rescue people, it would be much more difficult, even knowing where they are. How do you get there?
Sure.
Mike Ward, who's also our training officer, led the three of us into the Danish couple. And there's an unofficial trail that goes around the top of Cathedral out to that ridge, and he knows that trail, and so we followed him. And Bob Schumann knows that trail too. So the three of us, I just followed behind the two of them because they knew that trail perfectly and led us right to it. We went from the parking lot and had them under control in 50 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Which was very fast. Oh yeah, very fast, and at night. Yeah, we really don't feel we can afford to leave them out there very long. The longer they're out there, the less they're able to walk out also. I mean, sometimes you have to clothe them and give them some time to be able to even move their muscles and everything.
I imagine they got to calm down too and release the panic a little bit.
But thankfully, both the couple stayed put. The third was a couple from Phoenix, couple
we have
kids,
to take a break.
Mid-20s.
Well, we have to take a break.
Oh, okay.
We have to take a break. Okay.
Take a break.
Yeah, Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue's Al Cornell in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
I don't like that. Yeah.
So I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I was in junior high the first time I caught my mom using denial. She had to have known her painkillers were missing because I kept stealing them. Her denial was so out of hand.
So she doesn't even know? I'm going out.
It was like I could get away with anything.
You kids have fun.
And that was when I knew. And she was addicted to denial.
Denial is a drug. Get help. The partnership at drugfree.org.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Now, some action from the courts. Billie Jean King renewing her rivalry with Arthritis. First set, furious volley, and right to the net for a winner. Beautiful forehand there. Arthritis, stunned. And here, match point. Billie Jean with the ace, taking it in straight sets. Afterwards, a jubilant Billie Jean King.
Tennis is a weapon for me with arthritis. There's nothing like it for me to hit a ball, run to the ball, anytime, any court. I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your weapon against arthritis? Find out at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. Al Cornell with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue in studio today. I'm Paul David. Good to have you along. One more rescue to talk about. A couple of young people.
Yeah, this was a very quick one. They called 911. They were somewhere near. They knew they were near or on Oak Creek, but they weren't sure where they were compared to their car where they had parked. Creek. Got dark on them, and they dialed 911 and they stayed put. And we literally we drove to the end of Verde Valley School Road. There were two deputies there, more or less enforcement deputies. They weren't search and rescue. We had a pinpoint on a map, and we just started to walk in and ran into them probably within a minute. Mm-hmm. We started with flashlights and yelling their names, and we could hear them yelling back, and all of a sudden there they were. They were so close, but they just didn't know where they were, mm-hmm. and it got dark on them. People just need to get out before it's dark.
You've said three things now about each one of these searches that you were just on. They stayed put. Mm-hmm. That's important.
Oh, very important.
Why?
Because we've had, well, if they don't stay put, then when we go to where we think they are and they're not there, where do we go next? Mm-hmm. So it just extends the search, extends the risk of their lives. We had a young man on Bear Mountain, and he was told to stay put. Team went up to the location where he said he was and where coordinates said he was, and he wasn't there. Well, when they finally found him, a helicopter found him because he was not in the search area. He had walked north, and when they picked him up, the helicopter finally saw him, picked him up, and brought him back. He said, "I thought I was walking toward you," and he wasn't. He was walking the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So if he had just stayed put, we wouldn't have had to use the helicopter for one thing, which is an expensive piece of equipment. And it just extended the search, and it extends the risk to him and extends the risk to all the first responders to have to go in and look for him.
Kind of a false sense of security when people come to Sedona and they head out on a hike.
Yes.
Why is that? Why do you think it is?
I just think they see so many people in the parking lot, so many cars, so much activity of tourism. They think that they start to get a what I call the Disney World mentality, mm-hmm. where they can get out of the car, start walking into the forest, and nothing will go wrong. Here, I mean, good Lord, they're in Sedona. Yeah. There's hundreds of thousands of people here. There's literally 10,000 people or more every day visiting Sedona. More people visit Sedona every day than live here. Mm-hmm. And so they follow a trail, nice signs, and they walk on in. They're from Kansas, and they walk 4 miles an hour, and in our trails, 2 miles an hour is a pretty good clip. And then all of a sudden it gets dark and the trails disappear. I mean, they really do. bedrock, especially trails that go through bedrock and this juniper pinyon type forest, they really do disappear at night. And then they don't know what to do. I mean, they're caught in an ecosystem they're just completely unfamiliar with. So they come here with lack of knowledge of the area. They come here with a very cavalier attitude, and the cavalier attitude also leads them not to take anything in there with them. Just a couple simple items will keep them alive at night, or they could die. And they do run a risk of dying out there from hypothermia.
Well, we had you come in today because we had DPS in on Tuesday to talk about if you get into an accident in the wintertime sliding off the road and the things you should have in your vehicle with you. These are similar items you brought with you today. These are things you use all the time on your searches. So why don't we do that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I remember the first time you were here, you brought a big backpack. And that can be kind of daunting to people, I think. They see a big backpack and they think, oh, gosh, I got to carry all that stuff with me every time I go.
This is my day pack for a day hike. This is all day hike.
Okay.
Including my lunch and everything else in there. And it doesn't weigh that much. And it's and I have an extra piece of clothing in here. And I have what I consider all the things you need to actually stay out if I have to stay out 2 or 3 days.
Now, is this stuff I should take with me when I go on just a simple walk? Or is it something always on a hike?
If you're really going to go on a simple walk, but it's in the woods, you still need to be prepared.
Okay.
You can go in the woods a half a mile late in the afternoon, step on a rock, have it turn, and break an ankle. And then you're going to lay there until somebody knows you're there.
Now you're stuck.
And you could be in an area that doesn't have cell phone service. We have areas right outside of Sedona, behind the cultural park, down in that bowl below the cultural park. You can't get cell phone service.
Eagle Creek Canyon is a little difficult too.
You can't get out. Yes.
Right.
So I brought a bag of stuff because I was thinking we might.
You've simplified it for all of us.
Well,
a little bit.
This is how simple can you get? If everyone that went into the forest was a smoker, we would have no deaths because they all carry a lighter. Okay, that's a half an ounce.
There's your fire.
Here's 2 trash bags. There's your protection from the elements.
Raincoats.
Just put them on or make a shelter out of them. Just how simple that is. The 2 garbage bags together like that, 2.5 ounces. That's nothing. An emergency bag like this, you buy them in the stores, they're a couple bucks. You wrap up in this is wonderful. Or to wrap this around you and have a fire in front of you. An ounce, ounce and a half. The reason I mention ounces is I have people say, well, I don't want to carry all that stuff, too heavy.
That's why I brought that up at the beginning, yeah.
It's not as heavy as a coffin, so.
Oh, that's a good point.
And the other, a little bit of cordage, or use your shoelaces. What's this cord weigh? I weighed this morning. 2 ounces of cordage, 40 feet. This flashlight, really nice flashlight, very bright. This flashlight weighs 2 ounces with a couple of AA batteries in it. This is a survival knife. If you carry a good pocket knife, fine. I'm happy with that. The knife's probably the heaviest thing of this little gathering. What's this knife weigh? I wrote it down here. Oh, 3 ounces. So all of this would fit in a fanny pack, along with you really should have a scarf and a cap.
Should we be going out this time of year in flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt on a hike?
Well, you should never be out in our country in flip-flops anyway, because of the spines and stickers and stuff like that, and goat heads and all. But you should not be out there without something to cover your head and cover your neck. You lose 50% of your body heat through the head and neck on a 45, 50 degree day. The lower the temperature goes, the higher that escape is, that heat escape. Carry a scarf and a cap. And people that hike early tend to have this with them anyway. Or if you want to go lightweight, carry something like this. This is just a little cap that slips over your head and all goes, has a little space for your face and covers your neck. And this thing probably doesn't weigh 2 ounces. And it's foolish to be out there without some kind of precaution like that. I like to carry a synthetic shirt, merino wool or polypropylene or polyester. I always carry an extra one in my bag, and I'm always dressed for the day, and I'm prepared for the night with fire in a lair like this. I've had people say, well, I can't wear wool because it itches. Merino wool doesn't itch. Feel it. It feels like.
I've never put anything with wool that made me itch. We have to take a break. We have to take a break. We have to take a break.
Come back.
We'll come back. Yeah. Al Cornell with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue in studio today. I'm Paul David. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
This is ready. Ready? Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
It had rained.
Welcome back to Countywide. Got a couple minutes left in the program. Al was going through some of the clothing items you should take with you this time of year when you go out hiking, especially late afternoon into the evening hours. We've got scarves. Wool is good. You've told me before now, cotton in the summer because it lets the skin breathe.
Good point.
And then wool in the winter.
You must stay away from cotton in the winter,
okay.
Even as an undergarment or any layer underneath your outer layer. Quickie story. I was at the Veterans Day ceremonies in Sedona the other day. I had synthetic layer, I had a cotton shirt, and then I had a sweater on top. And then they put us inside and it got hot. When I came out, went home, took the sweater off, my cotton shirt was wet from sweat, and then the layer underneath was dry. These don't catch water, but the cotton does. And my cotton shirt was actually wet over a dry layer and under a dry layer of wool sweater. So cotton is really bad in the wintertime.
We got about 5 minutes. We got about a minute left. Give me 5 things we should definitely take with us every time we head out the door, whether we're driving somewhere, walking somewhere, hiking somewhere.
Oh, okay. Driving also, yeah. You need to have a way to.
This would be good to have in your car.
You need to have a way to start a fire, and I'm big on having more than one lighter. Nice to have a lighter that you can see the fluid level in, so
one or two
you've got
lighters.
it. Yeah, there's an old saying, if you have one, you have none. If you have two, you have one. That's a survival saying.
Okay.
Garbage bags are wonderful. They can be used for so many things. And I like to put garbage bags in kids' little survival kits, because then they can crawl into them, cut a hole of their head or something, crawl in if it gets cold. A little bit of cordage if you're not in a car, a little bit of cordage. In a car, a candle's nice to have. You'd be surprised. A candle can keep a car warm enough to survive. A candle inside a car. You can use a candle in a poncho rigged on the ground. I've done that and had warmed a poncho with a candle. Some emergency blanket to wrap up in is nice. But clothing is very important. A couple layers of clothing in the car, just wonderful. And if you have to get out of the car, something to cover your head and neck. Because, you may have to get out. You may be stuck in snow or something and have to get out and dig, or you may have to, who knows, why you might have to get out of the car. But that's the other thing. I hear people complain when I say synthetic clothing. It's expensive. And I tell them it's not as expensive as the funeral. So it's insurance. It's insurance.
Yeah. We're out of time.
Okay.
Thanks again for coming in, Al. Always very good to see you.
My pleasure. I hope it helps.
That's today's Countywide. We will talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.